wait a minute. I mix what I like, I mix what I like is exactly where you want and need to be. I mix what I like, organic, vegan, soul food from your immediate diet. That's healthy. I mix what I like, I mix what I like is exactly where you want and need to be. I mix what I like, organic, vegan, soul food from your immediate diet. That's healthy. I mix what I like,
We're here on I Mix What I Like. You may check us out on iMixWhatILike.org, where you can see all these other shows and what my daddy likes and other cool things.
All right. What's up, fellas? What's up, world? Welcome back to another special football edition of I Mix What I Like. Daniel, Mutanda, Robert, Jared, all in the building. Fellas, I'm up way past my bedtime. I hope you all doing well. How you all doing? I'm exhausted.
Right. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
What's your normal bedtime? Is it
Now.
Really? So like 8:30?
Dark. When dark. As soon as it starts getting dark. I'm ready. No, usually, yeah. I'm winding down, about now. You know what I mean? I'm starting to think about it.
Well, imagine me. I'm 2 hours in front of you.
Oh, damn, that's right.
You're 10:30?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that's the best.
And Mutanda is 3 hours behind. So you're at 5:30.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's great.
Well, you chose it, so of course it's great.
I did not choose it. I just pushed it back just a half hour.
Can we delay 30 minutes?
Yeah. I had to make sure I had, stuff in order. But good to see y'all. Thank you for making the accommodation. Sorry it's so late, Jared.
Well, now I can't complain because Robert
Robert's the one
shamed me. Because, But what's up to everybody in the chat? I see some good folks coming in. Good to see you all again. Please do, everybody, do the things. Share the love. So where do we want to start? How do you all want to proceed?
Why were we convened, I suppose, is because it was Jared's idea to come back so soon.
Well,
I guess, so.
No in particular reason. I just keep seeing in the chat here and there people saying bring everybody back. And then there were a couple things I did send in the chat that we were that we were asked to comment on. So I said one time we were being requested to convene now to discuss the UAE ban in football and other issues related to Vinnie Jr., I think. Is that what I was saying?
All right.
And,
I don't know about the ban. Maybe
Yeah,
somebody's done
I
research
don't know
on
about
that one.
either. I don't know what
Well,
that is.
there is no ban. I think it was just because of what's happening in Sudan and the UAE's involvement or
oh, that's right. That's right.
involvement
That's
in
right.
that. And I guess what people, I don't know if there's a ban that's happened yet. And then I think I personally would love, not saying we have to start there, but just making sure everybody in Brazil is doing okay. Robert, like, is the streets, people still crying in the streets? Or are we good, or what's going on?
Oh, wow.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
No, I'm just that's the Ballon d'Or talk, right, Jared? That's what we had. That was what you had.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
That was the other part of it. Yeah, it's a crisis.
So, yeah, it's the world is so anyway.
Yeah, I didn't tell you the truth. I didn't read a lot down here about it. I'm sure people got, been out of shape, but
I mean, Martha in particular. Wasn't she at a grocery store? She looked like she was at a shopping market right down the street from your house.
I didn't see that one. Is
you
that
didn't
on?
See that? Hold on.
No,
yeah. Didn't I send that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's all over the place. She was not happy. Oh man, my bad. Hold on.
Yeah, I didn't.
Here we go. Here's at least a short clip of it. No, it's not. Dang. Oh, via Instagram. Nobody else saw this thing?
I saw a glimpse.
Try this one.
I actually didn't pay attention really to what she was saying.
Here we go. She seemed pretty upset.
Inteiro para ver o Vinnie Jr ser reconhecido merecidamente como jogador da atualidade. E agora vem me dizer que não vão dar a bola de ouro para ele? Que bola de ouro é essa? Que bola de ouro é essa? Não, acabou.
Why does she have a dog in a tram? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What did she say? If you could translate,
she basically said, "What kind of Ballon d'Or is this when they don't give the award to Vinnie Jr.?" That's basically what she said. And I mean, I wasn't. I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, there's some weird those. I tell you the truth, I was. I hate to say this, but I kind of broke it down along racial lines. I mean, it's I think that people don't like the way he dances. They don't like the way he celebrates. He brings a little bit too much of the stereotype to what they're not used to seeing. So,
and just so folks are clear, right? Because it's voted on by journalists, right? This is how it's decided that throughout Europe, or is it
the
just
world? I
France?
think
Is it the world?
Yeah.
How many black journalists are in that group? I mean, come on.
I mean, that's a whole continent.
I don't know.
So I would think at least 54. Well, I can't even say that, can I? Because who knows what the South Africa journalist is, or the North Africans? So maybe like 40 at least.
My man said the North Africans.
What did he say?
I love that. No, Daniel was just thinking about the continent, and then he had to rethink it. He's like,
yeah.
Africa. Then you got the North Africans. They know how many.
So that's like we can settle on like maybe 40 black journalists that voted on the thing. But yeah,
out of how many?
How many federations are there? 200. How many countries in the world? 220-ish, somewhere there. So.
Daniel, there's some
and
kind
that's
of
how
clicking in
that's
your
how
mic,
that's how the Ballon d'Or is structured.
Maybe
with,
is it the band kicking? Is it the mic catching your head, your hoodie? I don't know. Sorry, Robert. Go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to figure. I don't know what the voting scheme is. I don't know who votes. I don't know how many
I
votes
actually believe it's 100 journalists, so it's changed a little bit. But I think it's 100 or maybe a little bit more than that. But yes,
Yeah, quick search here says 100 journalists, one from each of FIFA's 100 top-ranked member stations, top 50 for the women's award. So the women only get half. Each journalist makes up their top 10 pick from the 30-player shortlist, and there are different point values for each. Earning the most points wins you the Ballon d'Or.
What can I say, man?
So
we good.
Yeah, it's much better.
All right.
So yeah, that's what it says here from looks like the New York Times.
Only 100. Wow. You see, that's my. I don't. We could get into a larger discussion about the Ballon d'Or, but like, it's not that important to me, so I don't know how it works. The one thing that really used to annoy me is that it used to be a calendar award. So how someone performed between the months of January and December, despite the football calendar being from, let's say, August till May. So it used to make no sense. They just wanted like how they do year-end lists of top 10 albums or top 10 movies, and you get to December and then you give people awards. Like, that's what it used to be. I think just recently they changed it to where it was a seasonal award. So that's cool. That gives it a little bit more validity in my mind. But
before I ask
just using that as who's the best player in the world, no.
Well, before I ask a more officially football question about it, I admit I'm with Robert in terms of my initial reaction. I was like, this was all about race and his behavior, how he antagonizes racist fans. I admit I went straight there. And even just now looking up the votes, I'd be interested in not only the racial breakdown of the voters, but the attitude of the journalists, because it could be very easily be that even African world journalists would be hating on him based on his demeanor. But I honestly don't know. But my real question was going to be, does Rodri deserve it? But go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that, there's another factor, which is a very funky factor, but it's the way Vinny physically looks.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very dark skin, thick lips, the whole stereotypical bullshit, which offends.
It's Robert's mic.
Oh, is it Robert? What am I hearing now?
Look, I always getting blamed for other people's shit. Like,
no, you were at one point. You were.
I'm joking.
Oh, but he's like, he's like something that people don't want to see. It's just that simple. There are a lot of people out there that don't want to see it. I mean, when you look at, the last, to the best of my knowledge, you could be wrong. Maybe you guys know better, but I think the last black or dark-skinned Ballon d'Or winner was probably George Weah, maybe
1995.
I'm guessing. I don't really know.
That's what AI says.
Answer. That's the answer.
In fact, George Weah, it says here, according to Wikipedia, is the only African recipient.
Yeah, yeah. I think he is.
It depends on how we're defining African, doesn't it?
I'm just telling you what Wikipedia said.
Well, from the continent? What other definition would you have?
Sabio was born in Mozambique, I believe, but
did he get it?
But he represented Portugal, so yeah, he won in like the 50s or 60s.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bad man, no question.
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther.
Yeah, he was good.
But then if you go through like African diasporic, which would include guys like Vinny, I guess you'd put Karim Benzema, you'd put Zidane, you'd put Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Rivaldo. Ruud Gullit won a Ballon d'Or. There's some others in there, but yeah. So they're sprinkled in there. But if we're talking dark skinned guys, then it's just Weah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And obviously, Europeans were the only eligible class to win the Ballon d'Or until 1995. So guys like Pele weren't able to win it because they were born in the wrong place, according to France Football. So I think they went back and did it, and if they had non-Europeans in the running, he'd have won like 5 or 6 or something like that, but not officially. And Maradona couldn't win one as well. So, but yeah.
So that tells you how fugazi the award is in the first place. And I'm still from the era who gives a damn about a goddamn Grammy.
Isn't that the thing? Why? And I suppose if you're a footballer like Vinny, you're conditioned to believe that I deserve that award. Therefore, me not getting it is some comment on my unworthiness of some point. So I can understand how a footballer who's grown up in the context that we live sees the Ballon d'Or as something that they would want. But if we step back from it, why does a Grammy, an Academy Award, Ballon d'Or, why is this the marker that validates what you are? If anything, Vinny, I'm looking at you, do something for Brazil, please. Succeed for Brazil. Like, do that part. Forget what France Football are up to or what UEFA think. When it's World Cup qualification, World Cup, Copa America, show up.
So that's what I heard in some of the defense. No, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if he did show up, I mean, he was injured, albeit in the Copa America. I think he probably wins it. I mean,
that's what I heard in some of the defense for Rodri was that he won everything. And then they said the same thing for Carvajal, who was up for it, that he won everything with his club, with Spain.
Yeah. Well, because the Ballon d'Or works kind of like the Heisman Trophy. If maybe that's a better context for a lot of American people, but there's like the voters vote for multiple people, and then each 1, 2, 3 gets a certain amount of points. So if people on the same team effectively can stop, or the votes get distributed throughout a successful team. So France Football gave Real Madrid the team of the year. Ancelotti won coach of the year. But because you had Carvajal, you had Bellingham, you had Vinny, you had Kroos, there were a bunch of Real Madrid players that were effectively taking votes from each other, whereas Rodri just kind of, as the sole City player, I think Haaland was maybe in the top 5 or top 6 or
Haaland
something.
didn't make top 5. I'm not
what
even
was
sure
he? Was he 7th?
I'm not sure he was even top 10, which is really kind of strange in a sense, but I mean, we should.
I'm gonna leave him alone. Like, for me, like, would he be in the top 20?
That's like
no, I'm joking.
Jared is. I'm not sure where Jared's coming from, but you know.
But
that's Mutanda's man, right?
The point is, if Vinny was in a less successful team but had like the same statistical success or whatever, maybe he would have looked as like the singular best player on Real Madrid. But Real Madrid's success was such a collective thing, and you know, all 11 players, 13 players, 15 players, the regular players contributed. So you can,
but you would have to admit that over the past year or two, maybe a little bit longer, out of all the players in Europe, I don't think there's any one player more than Vinny who has been the brunt of racism in Spain. I mean, there's no other player that I know of in any league in Europe, major leagues, any of the big 5 leagues, and you could put in the Dutch league too. I don't think any one player has received the vitriol that he's received as a player from fans. It's just like, it's shocking how much vitriol there's been for him.
My pick would have been Lautaro Martinez, though. I think that's who, if I had a vote. He was top scorer he was top scorer in Serie A. They won Serie A, so that checks off and I think they won the Copa Italia, so that works. And then he came off the bench, scored the winning goal in Copa America. So he did what my friend HH calls the 2 flex. He had domestic success and he had international success. The only blemish you could say is he didn't win the Champions League, but neither did Rodri. So
Yeah.
it can't be that big of a strike against him. And then Rodri, I mean, people said, oh, he had a great Euro. I mean, he was like the 6th best player for Spain at the Euros. So, and then in the final, when he came off injured at halftime, Zubamendi came in and did better than him in his position. So,
whoops.
Yeah.
I don't think that's quite fair to Rodri there. I don't know about that, but and then to go take it back to Jared's original question, did Rodri deserve it? He's a worthy winner. I think we can all agree. I think I agree with everybody else in terms of the fugaziness of this award. What's interesting though is this has been fascinating. I'm glad we came together. I've been wanting to speak on this. There's a couple different layers here, and I think obviously 2 things can be true at once. 100% racial animus is at play in certainly some of the responses, of course, with some of these judges, and even some of the I don't know if y'all saw, like I think it was Rebecca Lowe and Gary Neville recently had, and they filmed it, and they could put, I mean, it's, well, hey, with the power of whiteness, right? They filmed this conversation that they were having, and Rebecca Lowe essentially said Vinnie was arrogant and classless because he, organized the party and flew out, was scheduled to fly out his family and friends to celebrate this award. And she's just going off on him for this. And I'm like, and the whole world, well, at least the people on my timeline, thank goodness, people I follow and people such as yourselves, we're just like, what is this? Like, this is blatant, it was not even coded language. She actually even verbatim said, like, oh, I think he should be like disqualified or some ridiculous stuff. So that being said, was race a factor in terms of some of the votes? How can you say no? Yeah,
the Albanian dude had Vinny in 7th, I think.
There's some wild.
So it's just like, God damn, bro, like, what are we doing?
There's some wild. That being said, it's weird because it's one of those situations too where, and Daniel, you and Have Hope, your friend Have Hope, he's an interesting character. Your guys' podcast. You did mention, credit to you. You did mention, you brought up a couple different points, and you did mention, rightfully so, that this year was a little bit different for at least this award in terms of no outright winner of the award, right? Vinny did not absolutely 100% separate himself from the pack in terms of what he did as a footballer, right? And the proof of that is, this is the evidence, this is one of the pieces of evidence, Vinny, and because I know this was used against Rodri, right? In terms of Rodri not winning player of the season in his own league, right? Phil Foden, I think, was voted player of the season. Vinny wasn't voted player of the season in La Liga. That was given to Jude Bellingham. And during the period when Vinny was injured / suspended or whatever, didn't play, and even when he started coming back in the beginning of the season, Jude Bellingham was sort of the unquestioned shiny new toy star of the Real Madrid team, right? And he was the one getting the Ballon d'Or shouts, right? So it was like, so all that being said, and I don't have a horse in this race because I appreciate Rodri. I think Vinny obviously would have been more than a worthy winner. I don't think this was a robbery in terms of like the actual football of it, but obviously there's racial animus that is unquestionable, and it's like, so it's wild. And then final piece before I turn it back over, I will say, and maybe this is just the hater in me, but I said this from jump, and I'm a man of my word, and this is beautiful because I feel so vindicated. The other thing this proves is that Real Madrid are the most entitled, ridiculous institution when they want to be, because a lot of this noise is because of their actions, and their response didn't actually do Vinny any favors. Right. And the conversation I've been having with some people, and especially my brother and I, we had a really in-depth conversation on, okay, you didn't win the award. Okay. There are ways of responding. Now, Vinnie Jr. undoubtedly was disappointed and probably very upset and couldn't, whatever. But he doesn't make the call for the entire delegation of Real Madrid, however many people that is, to skip the ceremony. Right. He doesn't have the power to say, oh, no, Florentino and everybody else don't. That comes from the top. Now, the reason Real Madrid did that isn't because they have such a huge soft spot in their heart for Vinny and they want to make sure they console him. Yeah, they're going to say that. But even in their own official statement, their official comunicado, they basically sold the award, the people running the award, like, okay, you don't think it's Vinny, then it should be Carvajal or it should be one of our guys. Meaning, because they won the Champions League, which they do consider as their trophy, and fair enough, they've won it so much, they basically threw a fit. Florentino Perez threw a fit and said, we don't feel respected by the Ballon d'Or, so Real Madrid doesn't go where we're not respected, which is completely asinine, right? And final point, to prove it, last season, this is why I said it's not a robbery in terms of football terms, right? Even if you think Vinny could have won the award, which I also do think he could have won it. But even in football terms, now you guys, and this is kind of not coming at you, Robert, but you mentioned Haaland's my boy. Haaland's not my boy. I just recognize he's very good at what he does. Case in point, the season before, Erling Haaland did something he's never going to do again, right? He's never going to go to a team, break a Premier League goal-scoring record in his first season. Team wins the treble. He scores something like 56 or whatever, almost 60 goals in the entire competition, which is a lot, or in all competitions, and the team wins everything. He did not win the Ballon d'Or. Now, people can say, okay, it was a World Cup year, it was Messi, but the point is, if you're going to give it to Messi for what he did in the World Cup, which is obviously a truncated period of time, and there's a lot of people who are like, hey, I don't know about this. Clearly, you're foregoing pure footballing reasons and consistency and performance and trophies over a long period of time. That was more of a football robbery than what's happened here to Vinny in this one. And there are others in the Ballon d'Or like Lewandowski. So I'll end it there. Not a football robbery, but obviously the racism is very, very clear.
But this is
podcasts.
Thanks for the super chat to Tapawa, excuse me for mispronunciation. But this is sort of where
that's a good comment.
This is there's a weird fascination that people have with the humble black guy trope that they want Vinny to behave like Conte.
Tapiwa, my guy, don't use Conte like that. Please.
Although I have to
exactly right.
Conte should have won this award at one point in his career. He should have won this award.
But they do love this, and they talk about it all the time. Almost every game before he started to fade in playing time.
Shout out to
the commentators talk about this all the time. They talk about him, his humility. He doesn't drive a flashy car. He'll show up in a quiet little restaurant and have a meal with you. He'll stop at the local mosque because he's a quiet Muslim. He's one of the good ones. You know, it's like it has all of that in there.
It's all true. That's all true.
And when I see Vinny up there dancing,
I admire the brother.
I like him too. But my point isn't about him. It's the reaction he inspires among mostly the European audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I see Vinny, to the point you all have made already, kind of spitting back at the racists that he's getting, all that vitriol that he's getting, and playing like and dancing and doing all the stuff that they hate, I love it. Yeah. And then even when they start complaining about Vinny, about his, I saw one thing was talking about he likes to shop and spend a lot of money. Whereas when they talk about Conte, it's like he doesn't do the flat. That's the thing. So
Conte's a trained accountant, so I'm pretty sure he's always responsible with his money. But okay, go ahead.
No, but I just one quick thing. You know what's interesting though is that, and I'm not discounting anything you just said, Jared. Spain's journalist voted Vinny number 1, right?
Oh, so good for him.
Yeah. I think this is a very. It's very funny following this because I've read about this quite extensively and it was fascinating just to see the reaction of Real Madrid. And I do think, and especially because of the highly subjective nature of the Ballon d'Or, this is one of those perfect storms where people can use it for whatever fight, whatever battle, whatever hills they want to die on, sort of thing, right? It's kind of the Rorschach's test, right? If I said that properly, of like they read into it whatever they want, they see what they want, and then they can use that as and you know what I'm saying? It's really interesting. Whatever angle you want to fight, you can fight it. Because interesting enough, Jared, when you were talking about Conte and how people talk about Conte, it's like, yeah, I can't. I'm not disagreeing with that. And that's also what they said about Rodri, and just to prove, I don't have a horse in this. I love Rodri. Rodri was suspended. Part of the reason he won the award, you can say it was like a legacy thing, right? In a way, because the treble season. So I talked about Haaland's stats. Rodri is the engine of the team, and he was unbelievable in the treble season. Rodri's had 2 or 3 at least phenomenal years. Like, he literally hasn't lost a game. I think the last game for City that he lost was the FA Cup final against Man United. Otherwise, the dude doesn't lose. So that's remarkable in itself. The other thing that's interesting, though, is they talk about his sportsmanship and all of this, the way he is, right? Which, of course, is code. But last season, Rodri was suspended in part because he put his hands around the player's throat. Like, he choked the player, which if Vinnie had done, obviously would have like disqualified him. So even the whole, Rodri's this nice guy. No, he's a freaking competitor. And so, yeah, it's wild. The whole thing is wild. But anyway, Daniel, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Very good, Jared.
Evidence.
I tweeted that. That's what my man got suspended for.
Gibbs White? Morgan
Gibbs White. It's wild.
UK love double barrel names, but that's aside. So the way I would see kind of racial bias creep into it, and maybe we could take like the last 10, 15 years of the Ballon d'Or. It was very obvious where it was going. It was either going to Messi or it was going to Ronaldo. So so journalists kind of, you could play with the third person if you wanted, and someone like Luka Modric could come through, or Lewandowski might get a vote, Benzema might get a vote, Xavi and Iniesta might get votes, whatever it is. But it's going to either Cristiano or Messi. Now that they've abdicated Europe, and it's a European biased award, so you would notice in that list that Cristiano's not there, Messi's not there. We could still make the argument that Messi is the most talented footballer that's living, despite them losing to Atlanta United or whatever it is. But like, give ball at feet, even though he's 37, 38, 39, I'd still probably like life on the line. Somebody has to do something. There's a guy in Miami that I might choose. But where I see it is in the kind of the story making of Rodri, where it's like, you have to be kind of cerebral and intelligent, and you have to have like this it's like you have to be on another level. Not that he's on another level, but in kind of the onlooker or pundit's view of how they see the game, they put themselves on a higher plateau because they recognize the importance of Rodri. Seeing what Vinny does is kind of, it's easy because he gets the ball, he runs at people, he does step overs, he goes between, he does nutmeg, like he does all the things that would pop off on like a comp on Twitter and different things. Those are easy to interpret. But now that there's no obvious choice, Messi, Ronaldo, you're giving the journalists this kind of platform or foundation to go, let me be a little bit more sophisticated and high-minded with how we're viewing football. And that kind of rudimentary, easy to understand Vinny stuff. But this deeply sophisticated DM, he's playing 6, he can come 8. He's doing all the little number things that people love. They go into the deep statistics, they're jumping in crates and doing all the stuff. Like, I feel like that's where you can get into kind of tricking yourself out of the obvious answer, because the Ballon d'Or really, it's a popularity contest, which is why Real Madrid players think they should win it every time. But Rodri winning it is going kind of against the grain, because this is one of the first opportunities these journalists have had to go against the grain since the duopoly has ended.
Can I ask you a question, Daniel?
Go for it. The
Barcelona teams that dominated during Pep, and then right after Pep, Luis Enrique's team. Who got most of the shine in those teams?
Not Busquets is my answer.
Okay, beautiful. So all right, beautiful. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree to a point, because, and I think that, and this is when I was saying that this whole thing is like a way that people can fight whatever hill that they're not necessarily dying on. Maybe that wasn't the right way of saying it, but you can make it to make lots of different arguments, right? And everybody could pick their argument. I think for some people that what you're saying is exactly true. But I will say, and maybe this is just me, subjectively talking about my own personal experience or whatever, but injecting my own bias. I also do think, though, it is not that difficult to see the importance of a Rodri. I just think it's I don't think it's like so. What I'm explicitly kind of counting or poking you on is just because some people are out there, and I agree with you that there are people out there who want to portray celebrating a Rodri as some sort of higher sophistication of watching football. It is undoubtedly true at the same time that a deep lying midfielder in a sport where there are few goals and in a sport where this award and most people when they watch the sport are attracted to attacking flair and offensive players such as a Vinnie or those type of players, that typically the wider viewing public, especially in the era of social media highlights and all that, are going to gravitate towards seeing that. And case in point is just this, what you and I just both agree on, these legendary Barca teams. And during the period, not nobody appreciates, but few people talk about Busquets, right? You can watch 10 games of Barcelona on the spin. Sometimes I go back and rewatch Barcelona games, and it's like, oh, Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Eto'o, Henry, these names, not Busquets. So now when you have a midfielder, and just kind of comparing Rodri and Busquets, you have a midfielder who's clearly the engine of a Pep team. They win everything consistently, year upon year, they're there. But he's also got a piece to his game that's different than Busquets, right? I think I can count on one hand the number of goals I've seen Busquets score. The brother's amazing and he's a genius. Busquets was never the offensive threat that Rodri is. And again, Rodri's done, even, it's not even just, he'll pop up with a goal here and there. We're talking like big goals, right? We're talking Champions League quarterfinal against Bayern Munich, bends one into the corner. We're talking EPL last day of the season, he scores one. The Champions League final, City wouldn't have a Champions League had he not popped up. So a midfielder who does all of that is, like I said, from footballing reasons, is worthy of the award. Even if, and again, I'll wrap it up by saying this, I agree with you that there are those who would use him, because it's not his fault. He plays into it. Some of the things he says are problematic. I don't like it. When he talks about, when they lose, when City or Spain lose, and they lose against a team that's playing a very defensive block, Rodri and a lot of Spanish or tacticals will like to, more Rodri, and will like to say, only one team was playing football. That kind of mentality, like, how dare that team play that way? And it's very arrogant. That being said, that's what you get with a brother who literally over the past 2 seasons, when he's played for club and country, doesn't lose. Like I haven't seen that in that way. And I think that's when you take away the Real Madrid angle, why wouldn't he win it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't he win it? That's all. I just think it's people lose the side of the football angle a little bit, and it's easy to do. But Rodri's remarkable. Rodri's remarkable. He is.
No, I agree. Like, again, remember I started this. I don't care. but within the context of how much I care, Rodri is not an undeserving winner. Like, I would never say Vinny was robbed or Again, my winner wasn't even Vinny. My winner would be Lautaro. So it is what it is, because I do think in years with international competitions, the winner probably should be somebody who's won something with their club and something with their country, which basically means odd years are free for all for anybody. But the even years, win 2 things pretty much.
The Nations League. Let's not forget the Nations League. Even though we can say glorified friendlies. With the Nations League, they try to make these friendlies.
You're right. Exactly. Yes.
100%. But the point is, like, Spain won all that. Like, and when I talk about it being a legacy award, because a lot of people, and even you said, Robert, like, okay, Conte should have an award or Ballon d'Or. The funny thing is, and this is what's crazy about this award and why it's problematic, there are so many players who you'd be like, oh yeah, that player deserved one. Leo Messi, my personal greatest of all time who's ever played, certainly the best player I've ever seen. Leo Messi, you could say, has scammed a couple Ballon d'Ors, right? I think that's Lewandowski should have won it. They gave it to Messi. And I think one year they actually scrapped the award. Like, that was so
2020, the COVID year.
They didn't even have it. It was like wild. And then they tried to make it up to Lewandowski by creating another different like goal scoring award to give it to him. Like, hey, sorry,
the award that looked like a pizza.
Yeah, something exactly.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
but Daniel, what I need to know is, where is Lautaro in here? Where was he on here? Because my whole thing is I'm thoroughly opposed to any Argentinian winning anything until this madness gets addressed.
That's so this is Enzo, obviously.
Enzo.
I know one of them's Enzo, and he's just been welcomed. Man, where did he go? Man, where did he go? Somewhere.
That guy's obviously too tall.
Enzo's at Chelsea.
Chelsea, that's right. That's right.
He's captain for a while.
And I haven't heard about anybody getting smacked in the locker room or nothing. But if they're over there celebrating, calling Mbappe and them monkeys and all of that, I was so glad that what's his name, who just lost 4-1, beat Aston Villa 4-1, and Martinez gave up 4 goals. His punk ass. I hope they lose forever, everywhere, forever.
Jared, what do you got to say about Real Madrid? Real Madrid fans abusing the Barca players, Yamal and them.
You're right.
What did they say?
Doing all of it,
yeah.
All the monkey stuff, all of that stuff.
Happens to Vinny, everything that happens to Vinny, the Real Madrid fans were doing to.
That's a good point.
They were coming on the young guy. What's the young guy's name?
Lamine Yamal. And some of the other.
What was he? 17 years old.
I'm telling you, this is not a got you. I'm not saying
so. No, but the difference would be for me is that in this case it's the players. So that's where my hostility. Yeah. Again, I have biases against Argentina anyway, but all of them. I got. So this is Lamine Yamal for anybody who's not. And you're right. He was getting wildly mistreated. By the same fans that would defend Vinny for being racistly abused.
It's wild. You can't
make it.
Although, it's
at
interesting.
At
least he's from Spain. You know what I mean?
At least Robert?
At least Yamal is from Spain. He's like raised, and groomed in Spain.
So at 17, he should be able to. He should be able to withstand.
No, not at all. Not at all. But what I'm saying, I think that there's a support network that he has with his family that Vinny doesn't have.
Oh, I see.
I mean, Vinny, I'm sure has some folks from his family living with him, but
I don't know. I don't.
Somebody can't tell him to, comb the crumpled fro.
Oh,
wow.
Please.
At least
I let my intrusive thoughts win. I've been trying not to say that for 2 minutes.
That's not a Jerry girl.
Your ball, bro. Pick the fro, bro. It's too crumpled, man. As somebody who wants, you know what I would do to grow an afro at this point? Oh my goodness.
Bro, what are you talking about? This is
seeing it wasted. Seeing it wasted is annoying me. But yeah, sorry.
That
like Robert, you're lucky, bro. Let me not call you bro. You're lucky that you can still grow hair.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I got a bald spot back there.
You could have just said thank you.
I never turn around. Right.
But I gotta say for me, Madrid just looks so bad in all of this, right? And it's so annoying that. Yeah, I'm glad at least to whatever degree people believed in it, which some people do. I'm glad the mask is slipping. I'm not glad, Vinny had to find out like that way. Because again, I would have loved to see him win the Ballon d'Or. But also I think the big question I had for people who thought he got robbed was, okay, what did he do footballing wise to separate himself so far ahead of everybody else to have like a meltdown on that with this award, given what's happened in previous years, to have such a response?
I mean, I think some of it has to do with there was so much discussion of him winning for so long. It did. So I'm not justifying, because I actually don't like oddly, I admit I don't like that they didn't show up.
They should have showed up.
Well, I mean, if he had shown up in the Copa America, I think he would have won it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if Brazil had won the Copa America and he had kicked ass, which he's perfectly capable of doing, I think he would have won it. I think that the question that Mutanda just raised, which is I think the issue, he didn't create distance between him and the rest of the field. He was damn good. He had a great year, but he just didn't, he didn't separate himself, And you might even say that, somebody black has got to do that, I think the problem too is that now that he's, on this particular team, which has now added Mbappe, there's an argument that says this might have been Vinny's last chance.
Well, that's why he didn't pass it to Mbappe in the Classico when Mbappe was standing wide open in the 6-yard box. He took that shot, and I told my daughter, I said, he's trying to outdo. That's the competition. He should have passed the ball. It was a clear, easy decision, but he took the shot, missed it. And
was Mbappe onside?
Yeah, I think Mbappe was offside.
I don't think he was. I think that would have been the one time he was onside.
I remember the moment you were talking about it. He wasn't.
And Vinny took the shot. And I told my daughter, this is their competition. He's not, they're not doing that. And I said, that's.
Hey, you guys know who, and I'm saying this because I'm petty and I never forget when people annoy me with their arguments. Much love to all of you. You know who's rarely offsides?
Erling Haaland.
Just saying. Right? Never mind.
So he's better than Mbappe? Have they played Barcelona yet?
If Erling Haaland was wearing a Real Madrid jersey, and listen to what I'm saying, because I don't think Erling Haaland is better footballer than Mbappe. No, I don't think that, Jared. But if Erling Haaland was in the situations that Mbappe was against Barcelona in that Clasico, was in those situations, and it came down to a situation of timing your runs better, Erling Haaland probably would have been onside and probably would have scored, and Real Madrid probably would have won. Now, I'm not saying that to say Mbappe is never going to be able to make those runs and do that, but part of that is like the understanding of that role in that situation, the timing of those runs. Mbappe didn't do it, and that was one of the reasons.
It was bad.
You can, yeah, but like
I can't argue with you. It was bad, and then worse for me is that when he was onside and had one-on-one with the keeper, he missed two other opportunities. So it's like that to me was even worse.
They could have won the game. It wasn't. They had so many chances, right? And the one you're talking about too, Jared, where Vinny, I actually don't mind him taking the shot. I actually think the shot when he cut in, he went near post, and it was the far post where the finish should have gone if he was going to finish himself. The situation you're talking about with Vinny when he cut in, I didn't think he had to pass it because he did so much already. The goal was there. I tried to be maybe too clever in the finish, but Madrid was there. But personally, y'all know how I feel about Madrid. I was so happy to see him lose because it had been coming. It had been coming. They should have lost more games in La Liga. And I don't know if it's Vinny's last chance. I wouldn't say that because the team is so good and it's Real Madrid. I just think a lot of this uproar with Real is because, and I know I haven't spoken to the brother obviously, but I'm pretty sure Vinny and Real Madrid thought that when they won the Champions League, they won first place on the Ballon d'Or podium with either Vinny or Carvajal. That's what they thought, right? Or especially once Carvajal won the Euros. But that's what they thought because they think it's their competition, right? Because that's just what they think. And I'm like, listen, the football world is bigger than the Champions League, my friends. So there's that. And this year with Mbappe, with the team they have assembled, and they probably will not win La Liga, which is wild.
Oh wow!
Are they in second place?
Yeah, they're 6 points or more behind Barca.
Mm-hmm. Is it 9 now?
Is it 9?
It might be 9. Yeah, Barcelona played on the weekend and they won, and Real Madrid were scheduled to play.
Yeah, but they still have
Valencia, but because of the flooding and the hundreds of people,
it is 9.
They didn't play.
Here's
it's
the
9,
table
but there's a game in hand, so so good luck. Good
Yeah,
luck.
that's a lot of points.
I mean, they've played a game less, but that which is important. But the
that
fact
goal
that
difference
they've
is
lost,
insane. 40 goals in 12 games. Aye.
it's gonna be rough.
That's amazing.
There's a theory I heard from somewhere, and I actually think this. I heard from somewhere that I forget what show it was. They were talking about one of the reasons maybe that Florentino, whoever made that call, probably Florentino, to not go to the awards was to distract from the beating that they took from Barca at the weekend, which is plausible because the Real Madrid PR machine is always.
I'm with that.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
that probably had something to do with it. But wildly disrespectful that they didn't go. And this must be said too. I gotta say this. One of the things that happened, because this is how petty Real Madrid is. I love and respect Carlo Ancelotti as a coach. I think he's amazing. But then this is not the first time this has happened. Carlo Ancelotti got upset at somebody on the Barca bench. I think he was upset that somebody, like the way they celebrated. There's video footage of this, but then we've never heard about it, which to me tells me like, yo, my man, you're just up in your feelings. What are you talking about? Like Barca just scored 4 at your house, and you're upset because of how they're celebrating. What are we doing here? Like they just embarrassed. And if the brand gets embarrassed like that, it's no different than Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys being like, oh my God, we just got smoked. What are we gonna do here? You know, that's basically what happened.
Jerry definitely would keep his
Jones,
team home.
man.
Jerry would have.
Jerry would have hired a hitman or an arsonist and burnt the.
You said
I'm just playing, Google. Just playing. Just jokes. Just a joke. Me and Jerry go way back.
So yeah, Madrid.
Is there more on this? Because I do want to get to one of the links that you sent. I think Mutanda in our group chat. If there's nothing specifically more on this other thing that you all have.
What's that link, Jared?
Yeah, I forget. What was it?
This one here. All sports, U.S. sports are socialist.
Oh yeah. That's
Hang on, did I
team goes, we're going to take Marcus Bronzy. And I'm like,
wait, huh? What happened?
You sent this link.
I sent this?
You sent this.
I sent a link about Lamine Yamal.
Oh, all right. Well, all right.
Like a 3. Yeah,
this is Jared.
This is a good.
This
all right, my bad.
This
okay,
is a good one. Play it.
Marcus Bronzy signs for the San Antonio Spurs. But the worst team gets the first pick.
Great system,
yeah, because America doesn't believe in socialism unless it's sports. What do you mean? It's trying to be fair. We're trying to make everything equal.
Yeah.
Let's do that in real life. Are you fucking crazy? You fucking communist?
Crazy.
You communist?
You communist?
Dude, we're just making it fair. You know, the worst team gets the picks, so it makes the league more competitive.
Well, what about the poverty gap, though? What about that? Are we gonna?
Dude, I'm not communist. Are you fucking insane? You want Russia to come over and take us over? Imagine all these kids are.
That is pretty funny. That's pretty.
Well,
funny.
you know, it's like socialism amongst billionaires. You know,
mm-hmm.
I mean, they're like comparing teams. What they should
and a
be
protected
doing,
monopoly too.
Comparing owners. You know, yeah, it's a joke. It's crazy.
Okay, my bad. Okay, I see. My bad. You sent. Okay, my bad. I missed. Okay, you sent this.
I just had a little background on Lamine Yamal because I thought it was cool. It was a 3-minute video. We don't have to watch it or get into it. But I don't know if y'all. It was cool.
I don't know. Am I allowed to play it? It says ESPN on it.
Yeah, you may not be allowed to play it. A couple of interesting points that I took from it. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I'll play it without sound. How about that?
Yeah, people talk about pay to play here in the US, that is. And one of the things that he says right away is that he didn't play. Yeah, because my parents couldn't afford. There it is, right? So I thought that was, which those of us who, this is common. But yeah, what a baller! What a story! I mean, the fact that he's as young as he is, it's crazy. It's crazy. Also, that early engagement piece. I think he said he joined the club at 4, whatever. Or he started like he's just. It's a pretty.
Yeah, I mean.
Pretty amazing story. Yeah. Anyway, I had no agenda necessarily. Just I thought it was cool.
So how did they? So when did they? So part of it is what they do is they just see anybody that shows a sign at that age, and they just start inviting them to camps and to sign on. Is that what happened?
No, like he says here, his community-based club was just like,
Oh,
hey,
that's right.
he'll play, and obviously, and like in most, even like here, there's a barrier to playing, sometimes. But if you're really, really, really good, someone's gonna be like, hey, we got to get this kid. And so there he goes. And then eventually when you start playing, the thing is in Europe, and the scouting networks are such that when a player shows the talent level that he has, it's not long until the really big clubs, a Barca, whoever, comes and says, yeah, join us, which he did. And the rest is history. I mean, he's been at La Masia for a while, or he's been a La Masia product, but yeah, it's wild.
I mean, he's nasty. No doubt about it.
Daniel.
You just want Daniel's just hating, just like, could he just get his shape up or something? That's messed up. Leave that kid alone, man.
Yeah.
I know.
Leave that kid alone, man. But I did want to ask, just going back to that other clip real quick, one question I did have about that is, to what extent is European football different in terms of this point about monopoly and socialism? So does relegation solve that equation? Or is the inequality in the money in European football still somehow protecting the elite? I mean, there's no. Yeah,
I think that the system. I mean, in some sense, we're comparing apples and oranges, right? I mean, Europe is the center of the world, but theoretically, they have an open system, and it's an open system from, the deep grassroots all the way up to the first division. It's very rare that that a talent is going to appear at the grassroots level and get lost. That talent is filtered up, and it's not talent that depends on how much money your parents have. Whereas in the United States, you've got a closed system. There's no relegation. There's no promotion relegation. And there's still a lot of pay to play. And these people that are out there talking about, oh, it's all pay to play, somebody's always paying something. Yeah, that may be true, but we've had this discussion before. I mean, it's in the barrios and in the ghettos. I'd say there's more presence of the sport in the barrios for sure. But in the ghettos, in the black ghettos in the United States, this sport is still marginal. It takes a back seat to basketball. It takes a back seat to American football. And, as long as that happens, it's going to be the United States is, at least on the men's side, the United States is a third world country in men's football. So. I know I said that. I said that just to. I'm just like, I'm poking Mutanda and saying that, I mean, the women are another story, obviously, but that's like
the U17s got beat by North Korea the other day on the women's side. Not that completely refutes what you're saying, that they're not one of the global powers. I think the women.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
It's been happening. Spain plays North Korea. I don't know if they've played already, but that's U17s. And talk about Rodri getting a Ballon d'Or legacy. We're not to return to that. Spain is unquestionably running it right now, like everywhere.
Both men and women.
Robert, the only pushback I have with your pay, because I've said this to people too. Pay to play is everywhere. But that being said, in the U.S., it's part of the problem is what people pay, how much they pay, and what they pay for. And a huge problem, which I know Robert, and you've tackled, not just in your book, but in other places, though, is that the lack of connection, the lack of the closed system, and the lack of connection between the pro clubs, or really essentially the way the pro game is run, and the lack of solidarity payment in Europe. So this is direct response to your question, Jared. The Europeans, it's weird because it's yes, promotion relegation. So in theory, it's open. A lot of people push back on that idea because you still get some of the top clubs are going to stay the top clubs, right? They're always going to have power, and part of that is because of TV deals and lucrative sponsorship deals that keep them gigantic. And obviously, then they can get the best play, better players, coaching, etc., and continue to challenge and compete for trophies and whatever. The European model, what they've been so successful at, though, and a lot of clubs, what they're successful at is they kind of know what they are in terms of clubs, and they stay in their lane. Meaning, if a club considers itself to be a selling club, what it will do, its business model will be, we're going to compete. Of course, we're going to try to win whatever we can win. But we know, let's say I'm some club, the Sounders don't pay that youth club for the time that player spent there.
Yeah,
and it's a different ecosystem.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more than just different, right, Mutanda? I mean, I think what you just described is a set of rules or policies that are coming directly from MLS, not from U.S. soccer. I mean, the U.S. soccer is still playing, despite the fact that they've, supposedly now broken ranks with MLS because they're no longer sharing TV money. But I think the damage has already been done. I think MLS is, they structured U.S. soccer the way they wanted it structured. And now I spoke to a guy today that's in the States he's basically full-time with the sport on the kind of the design side and team building side. And his response was, I mean, this is, I'm quoting, he said he thinks Don Garber is an imbecile and basically thinks that it's all a scam, and that what's happening now is that MLS is making a pitch to go further down the pyramid into the youth and grassroots network, where these kids are paying, $2,000-$3,000 a year. And I've seen some statistics that indicate, if you look at the entire youth pyramid below the pro level, there's like a $5 billion a year churn in youth soccer in the United States. So there's a lot of money at the bottom of the pyramid, and MLS wants the money. I mean, this is I'm paraphrasing what this guy said.
Wait, just to clarify, you're saying youth soccer generates $5 billion?
Yeah, that's that's all three entities. There are three entities at the youth level. And so technically speaking, all of them are technically nationwide youth soccer associations, and they obviously have overlap. But the total churn for all three, and also clubs that are not affiliated with those three, is somewhere around $5 billion a year.
Yeah,
it's a decent amount of money. I mean, obviously, it's a very middle-class sport, right? So there's a tremendous amount of middle-class support for the sport. There's a lot of travel, and those are all opportunities to make money. Not to mention the other thing that's going on is there's a rollout across the country. I think this is more of I could be wrong, but Tony, you have to correct me if I'm wrong. But my impression is that east of the Mississippi, there's a rollout of what amount to be kind of suburban youth soccer parks or youth sports parks being rolled out across the country, where you have 100 acres, 150 acres, 200 acres devoted to basketball, soccer, baseball. It's kind of a multi-sport facility that people drive to on the weekends for tournaments and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of infrastructure out there that people are literally spending money to use on the weekends for these soccer leagues, and it's it's serious money. You can drive.
Look at this. This is Soccer America. I'm just looking at it from May of 2020. The $19.6 billion youth sports market, soccer and the pandemic.
Yeah. Now that's the whole thing, though. I think
that's all sports. Yeah, that's not just soccer.
Sport.
Yeah, but you're right. And 80% of the global youth sports business in the U.S. it's 76. Will hit 77 billion by 2026. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I could easily see. Anyway, I could easily
that's
see
like
to
4
your
years
point.
ago.
Yeah.
That's like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and you probably are paying something for your girls, right? I don't know how much you pay.
Oh well, and when baby girl went down with the knee injury, and I reached out because it was at the beginning of the year, and I said, "What's up with this refund?" And they were not happy.
Oh, wow. So they did not give you your money back, or they were?
Oh, they did. They gave basically pro rata, right? They but I got most of it back, but they were not happy about it, it took a little bit of a back and forth. And then in the end, they were the email I got was basically saying we're doing you a favor. Because technically she got hurt a month after the cutoff deadline or some nonsense, but it was about to be an issue.
So you got I mean, I don't want to put you in a hot seat, but how much did you pay for a season? Is that what it is? Is it for a season? Or
we paid
for a year
for the soccer association here. I paid the whole season. I paid up front was about $3,500.
Boy, that's a nice piece of change.
And then we got like 28 of it back.
And does that include travel?
No.
No. Oh my God.
No.
Outrageous.
No
Jesus
travel.
Christ.
So now she's not on, and this is the other thing. She's not even on one of those elite teams that's traveling all over the world every 5 minutes. So the most traveling we would have had to do is, an overnight or 2 nights in Hershey, Pennsylvania, or somewhere in Southern Virginia or something like that. We weren't having to take the flight, but even that is, a couple hundred.
Exactly. You can't go away
for gas, for hotel, for you got to pay for all of that.
That is amazing.
So yeah. And
that's serious bucks.
It was
needless to say, aside from the lack of ideal penetration into the inner city, what this reminds me of is and you guys may know this, actually I think I mentioned this in the book, but the United States Soccer Foundation is a separate organization from the United States Soccer Federation, right? And I think we talked about the fact that this is 2024, so I think it was like 2021, maybe. I think it was still during COVID, where the U.S. Soccer Foundation announced that they were going to roll out a nationwide program for inner city soccer fields all throughout the country. And their plan was to set up, I think it was 1,000 soccer fields across the country before the 2026 World Cup. And they got sued by the U.S. Soccer Federation to cease and desist, 1, with that program, and 2, with using the name U.S. Soccer Foundation, which they claimed had been stolen from U.S. soccer, in essence, right? And I don't know what happened. I think they settled out of court. But that scheme to take those soccer fields into the inner city got nixed.
That's deep.
I mean, it's kind of like what more proof do you need? You know, I mean, something's rotten in Denmark. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, good grief.
You know, and yeah, I mean, that's wild. I didn't know anything about that, but
and that was in federal court. That was in federal court, you know. So it's like, man.
So, by the way, that fee that we paid does not include if you want to do indoor futsal in the winter, that's more money. That's a whole separate thing. If you want to do a summer camp, even with the same people who you've worked with all year over the summer months, that's another set of fees.
Wow, that's right. That's amazing.
So, listen,
amazing.
The only other thing that I know I wanted to get to is this here, which I did not know, that football is basically responsible for all the goodness in the world.
Yeah,
so,
Gil Scott-Heron. I knew about that.
I didn't know that Gil Scott's father was a pioneer Jamaican footballer.
Yeah, I knew about
who
that.
ended up playing at Celtic, one of the bigger clubs in Europe. And there was their first black footballer. That's wild.
That is wild. Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
I got a topic to put on the table. Look at Gil. I got a topic to put on the table. Have you heard about this proposal from MLS to change the calendar?
No.
So the latest, I don't know whether this is, you never know whether you're reading Soccer America or whatever you're reading. You don't know whether it's true. But the latest rumor is that after the World Cup in 2026, the United States is thinking about basically going to the European calendar, so that they would basically break up the quote unquote normal calendar. So you would start in probably the early fall. Maybe you would start in August and go to December. They'd have a break in December and January for Christmas or whatever. And then they would resume probably at the end of January, beginning of February, and go till, May, So it would basically be a mirror image of what's going on in Europe. And down here in Brazil, one of the things it's not talked about very often, because there's basically no chance that Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay, all these people down here, their season, basically is a January to December season, basically. And they consider that an advantage every 4 years for the World Cup. And the advantage is that, at least theoretically, when you go to the World Cup, which is always in June, unless it's in someplace like Qatar, if it's in June, it means that you're mid-season for Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay, but it's the end of the season for the European clubs, which means that in theory, they would have tired legs, so that it gives the Latin American teams some kind of advantage. So I don't think that change, I don't think it's a healthy change for the United States. I think that the United States should be looking to Latin America to bridge its gap in excellence instead of Europe. But I think it's a bad move for the United States, aside from the weather issue,
I thought, I thought the idea was that it was always a challenge for MLS to, didn't they always run into some conflict with some tournament where the international break was taking their best players at certain points? I don't know. But then I'm wondering to what extent are best players internationally playing in the MLS is.
Yeah. When you say best players, I'm like, I'm kind of like I gotta.
I know.
I
Don't
gotta
start.
hold
Don't
I
start
gotta
up
hold
again.
myself back. But
Don't start up again. Don't
uh,
start up again.
but,
All right.
but the article that I read, I think I read this in Soccer America. That one of the arguments in favor of it had to do with the player transfer window,
Mhm.
and that they could take advantage of some of these breaks that Europe has, and time transfers both ways that would benefit MLS. I mean, I think as long as MLS is a graveyard for talent, it doesn't make a difference, And
So
the latest rumor down here. Now here's just to put this in the pot for stirring. The latest rumor, and this came out yesterday, is that Neymar bought a huge piece of property in Miami.
I've heard that he's
and is about to dig some roots into Miami so he can join Messi and Luis Suarez at Miami FC or whatever the name of that team is.
and reunite the triumvirate.
That would be so weird. I guess the part that I don't understand, I was talking to this cat in the States today about it, and I said, I just don't understand MLS. How is it that the commissioner can make a decision about where all these MFers go, right? Are we going to send all these mothers, all these mofos to Miami, or we're going to send all these mofos to LA? And the other 27 owners don't say anything. They don't say anything.
Well,
what is the mechanism? How are they making money? It must be a form of socialism in the back door somehow. How are they?
I don't know what their revenue sharing situation is, but
it's just amazing.
If Adam Silver can get Bronny James into the Lakers, and if he can stop Dwayne, what was it? Stop that trade? No, that sent Chris Paul
going to the Lakers.
Chris Paul to the Lakers, and if they can put Patrick Ewing on the Knicks back in the day.
You're not a conspiracy theorist on that one. Cold envelope.
Listen, and I was a Ewing fan.
Wasn't that a draw? Wasn't that the lottery pick for?
But they rigged that shit, man. There was no way that the Knicks had enough ping pong balls and that whatchamacallit to get Ewing. That's the conspiracy.
Where was he supposed to go? What was the one?
I don't even remember.
I forget where he was supposed to go.
Some terrible team,
and the Knicks stepped in because they didn't win it. They didn't win it. He was.
Can I say and I think P would hit on it. Neymar in Miami is the worst idea anyone could ever come up with. He wouldn't play a lick of football.
He's getting a check.
That would be the worst idea. I'm assuming in Saudi Arabia he can only do but so much. You take him from wherever he is in Saudi Arabia and you put him in Miami. Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean,
that's a good point.
The issue is
for Brazil's sake in 2060. You better hope not.
He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to do anything. I mean, he's all he's doing is collect a paycheck. I could be wrong, and he hasn't been what's the word in English? In
good.
Portuguese, it's convocado. I guess selected. He hasn't been selected for the World Cup team because until he was for the past over a year he's been injured, and apparently he just began to be in decent shape enough to come back to the team in Saudi Arabia. But he still hasn't been called up to the national team. And there's some notion that this current coach of the national team for Brazil, who used to coach him at Santos, is not particularly enthralled with the idea of bringing Neymar to the World Cup.
Why does Brazil always have this drama?
Take
your best players.
That's part of the Latin.
Dunga did this in what was it, 2010, where he didn't take Ronaldinho, to the World Cup after the season he had with Milan. I'm not saying that Neymar is in Ronaldinho AC Milan form, but he didn't take him because he didn't like him, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. Take your best players.
There's politics down here for sure.
So
sorry to cut
we touch on this?
Same thing. It's like that whole thing with Isaiah Thomas. I mean, it's politics everywhere.
I did not meet the criteria.
What did that sister say just there, Jared?
So if y'all don't tonight, I would definitely like to hear thoughts on the demand to get the UAE out of football clubs and the effects that would have on the sport.
From whom?
Did you see that?
Who's making the demand?
Yeah. What is it? What's the UAE doing? What's the UAE doing? What are they doing?
It's what's going on in Sudan and what they're funding.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Okay.
So, which is heavy. This is heavy. I mean, I'm trying to.
That's heavy stuff. Yeah.
It's very heavy. As we're talking about a lot. I mean, we're talking about a lot of clubs, a lot of football. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I saw one thing today, and I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. So maybe somebody here might know something. But in Sudan, the American, like there's two factions perhaps in Sudan. Again, this is just I skimmed it. There's two factions in Sudan. I'm sure there's more, but there's two ones, and the United States has backed the one where the leader is saying that he's going to stop African migration into Europe, something along those lines. So that's all I've got. But yeah, I saw something about Sudan today, just apropos of nothing, maybe. But
so I gotta ask all three of you the question, because it's the elephant in the room, given the fact that it's November the 4th. What's going to happen tomorrow?
We all going to lose. That's what's going to. No, we're going to. So over at Black Liberation Media, we're having election night coverage. I'm expecting to have some fun. Yeah, I'm about to crack open something to drink.
Who's going to be on? Who's going to be on there with you?
I'm not entirely sure. I think Renee, Geechee are going to be coming on. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm in some way going to be looking to be surprised. You're all welcome to come through. I mean, I'm expecting to be there for a couple of hours, and who knows what condition I might. I'm about to.
What time are you going to start?
We're going to start around 6:00. I think 6:00 Eastern time. Ricky says she might come through, maybe. And by the way, she's saying not so much Sudan, but the UAE's influence on the sport.
Oh wow! Okay.
I would definitely like to come back and have a more focused conversation about that.
I would love to read more about it. Yeah, and I've heard bits and pieces about it. But yeah, it's a serious.
But Robert, in terms of tomorrow, I honestly don't know. I haven't been paying enough attention in terms of the predictions and where everything is. I just am excited for it to be over and for us to get back to some other kinds of conversations. I've even bored myself a little bit with the arguments. But Ricky, please send resources. And I don't mind. I mean, I don't think we would be opposed to expanding the circle. I don't know folks Ricky could even join us for a discussion of that at some point. I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, that's it in terms of the election tomorrow. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with it because I don't think it looks good for anybody. And I just watched before we started. In fact, I was watching on Breakthrough News a discussion among Palestinians, Lebanese, I think Yemeni folks that Rania Khalek was hosting, and to hear Minnesota-based. First of all, it was weird for me, I admit, to hear the Minnesota accent mixed with various so-called Middle Eastern accents was wild. But but to hear some of the argument, the same thing. And one dude was up there talking about why it was important to vote for Trump. Because
to enhance the contradictions.
No, not that at all. Because they thought he's they were having a lesser of evil argument, and this one dude in particular was saying, no, Trump is the lesser evil. Because apparently up until 2016 or very recently, maybe 08. Up until very recently, apparently the Muslim population in this country voted Republican, and only more or less recently switched over, according to the argument they were having. I admit a lot of ignorance on this.
That kind of checks out.
Yeah, they were saying it's more or less recently that they switched over to the Democrats, and you know,
that country.
So I don't know, man. I think the end result is we all lose tomorrow, no matter what. But
yeah, and Gaza goes on.
Oh, definitely. I mean, definitely. So, but I don't know. Anybody else got any thoughts on that? I don't know.
I mean,
not that
it's all a bunch of this. It's all a bunch of this.
Nothing that Mutanda can share publicly. That's a good one.
I hear you on that too. I'm not mad at that.
What a world we live in, I tell you.
You know the Batman movie where the bad guy just blows up the football field and everybody just kind of falls in. Like, I wish it was that. Like
although that's American. That's American football. Isn't that American football?
American football, yes.
Rest in peace, Hines Ward. I feel like I remember he was in that movie.
He did. He fell through he did. He fell through I think he fell through one of the crevices or whatever.
Like, you know.
What was the date of the last time we got together? Today's the 4th. Is it in October or September?
A few months, maybe. August, September, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I don't know exactly for sure though.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm down to do it sooner than later. I mean, it's the last one was a month ago.
So it was October.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did it in October?
Yeah, we did.
What was the date? Early October? Must have been early.
Let's see. It just says a month ago. September 26th.
Okay.
You know. But I understand when we don't get together, it feels like a very long time.
Jared, you should try to reach out to. I know I've been kind of pushing the idea of having a show dedicated to the women's game.
Yeah,
but we haven't been able to find somebody to come on that would be a representative of that perspective too.
I'm very interested. I did reach out to Hope Solo.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
What happened?
And I sent her. I never heard back. I sent an invitation. I sent links to the show.
You mean Hope Solo's not somewhere like reading up on Black Power media and everything?
I mean, I'm telling you.
Hey, Hope Solo, would you like to come on Black Liberation Media?
I did. I said.
What about the brother that represented her?
Send her a copy of Robert's book.
She's married to a brother. He's in the documentary.
Yeah, that's true.
She's married to a brother. I thought the documentary was fascinating, and I would legit want to talk with her about because again, the most compelling part for me was that she says in the documentary that all of these women that were parading themselves, Rapinoe and all of them, as the superheroes for getting equal pay, that they never got equal pay, that was a myth, that was a false narrative. They got a single 24 whatever million or whatever payout, but they never got equal pay, and that they cut a deal to cut off what Hope was actually trying to do. So she was saying, I wanted to have structural, permanent change that would benefit women going forward, and all these women did was take a check and took all the credit, got the presidential medals, got all the praise, and so I thought, and that to me, my bias admittedly knowing very little else about it, was that fit perfectly with what I see happening just in general across the political spectrum. So I was like, that's bars for me. So I was like, please come talk about it. But
I have to admit, that would be an interesting conversation for sure.
Did you see the documentary on Netflix? I would encourage you to see it. I thought it was fascinating.
Mutanda and Daniel haven't seen it?
I'm boycotting Netflix docs. I don't even consider them
enough,
documentaries. It's just propaganda, man.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I have not seen it. I have not.
I'll read about it though, but I'm not pressing play.
Okay, fair enough.
Unless it's like, are we doing like an episode on it to where like you should probably watch it? But
I think it would be worth at least part of
I think it's worth watching
of a discussion it would produce enough for us to have a.
I'll steal it.
And that part alone.
Don't worry. I'll find a link.
But if there's something else, I would actually want to see if anybody has done a written version, maybe a deeper dive into some of the details of her argument there. I would love to see that. But anyway, I'm definitely down to still try to find whoever would want to come on and talk specifically about the sport.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Said by every street harasser ever.
Oh wow! But asking for interviews, I do that all the time. I don't have a problem
a cold
with
email.
That.
Cold email.
Yeah. I'll
that's me all day.
And if it's like a professional, I'll tag people on Twitter. You never know. I mean, you never know. You just never know. And I'm like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? So she didn't respond, You don't
use hope you're doing well, do you? Have you avoided that one?
With her?
No. I'm just saying with anybody. I hope this finds you well.
No, I don't do all of that. It just says interview request in the subject, and I say quick, greetings or hello, and then that's it. Can you come on the show? I don't have time for all that, and I know they don't want to be reading all that either. I would assume they don't want to read all of that. I wouldn't want to read all of that. Just get to the point. What is it that you need? I don't have time. What's the situation?
You were gonna say Mutanda?
No, that I believe Hope still lives in this area, unless I don't know.
Or in the movie, it says they live in North Carolina now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, damn.
You don't have pro soccer, pro football connections, Mutanda. You don't have like.
I do, but I don't. You mean you want me to track down Hope Solo?
No, the better one I want you to track down. This is the better one I would want you to track down, although it doesn't involve the women's game. It would be, I want to get into the beef between Eric Winalda and Serge Gomez. What's
this one about?
I don't know. I missed it. I only caught the tail end, and I'm not sure if this was back to, but apparently it got pretty heated, and I just didn't have a chance to go find the details. But apparently I thought it had something to do again with that question of Latinos playing for the U.S. men's team.
So it was
I may be wrong.
Winalda, and who was the other guy?
Hercules Gomez. That's what I said. Sergio. Sorry, Hercules Gomez.
Wow.
Sorry, I don't know why I said Sergio. Hercules Gomez.
Right.
And that they apparently had some words, and I was like, "What?" But I'm not. Don't quote me on the nature of the beef, but I would like to.
Is this like relatively recently?
Yeah, within the last couple of weeks, maybe even shorter, more recent than that.
Did it have anything to do with national? Because that sounds vaguely familiar. I saw something. I think Ronaldo might have responded to something that Herc said around potentially the hiring of the new coach, or it had something to do with something.
Maybe that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, something to do with like the potentially the players that are called up to the national team. And
here's somebody saying they went at it. So
yeah,
maybe it's on YouTube.
I'm sure it'll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Well, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
I feel the vibe. I'm ready. I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Listen, fellas, I love it. I can't wait to do this again. Thank you very much.
So do we have an agenda for next time? Sorry to cut, but like, do we have topics lined up for next time, or?
Well, we can do something on WhatsApp and exchange some ideas.
And happy to take more requests from this is late as hell for me. This is crazy. I haven't seen this.
If it's late for you, you can imagine.
You're pre-gaming tomorrow, but we're helping you get your sleep schedule right for tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, tomorrow. The only thing I would like us to at some point run down. And
the results from California won't even hit by this time tomorrow. Like you gotta wait till 11 or 12. Like
maybe depends on what kind of night it is. At some point.
Oh yeah, if Trump wins pencil, it's a wrap.
Yeah. At some point, somebody wrote.
Oh boy.
At some point, I do think a deeper dive into culture in this country is because I know, especially from a certain esteemed gentleman who lives in Brazil, MLS takes a lot of flack for what it is, and I'm not defending MLS, but one thing I've been thinking about a lot is like the degree to which gridiron football is king here, and forgetting about the economics of it. I know you can't quite forget about it, but just in terms of a cultural piece, because I have some things to share with you guys too about not just folks like myself, but I know in doing the work, people setting up things in the quote unquote inner cities in this country that are soccer, and some of the barriers to that and the challenges to that, because they're numerous. And it's very fascinating. I've had a really interesting time working with the school district in Seattle with getting space, and it's a real big challenge. So I put it's at some point, I think an honest look, without necessarily needing to slander the institutions that are here. No, I'm serious because there's no perfect model. There's no perfect model. The U.S. cannot copy what other countries are doing and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. It's a different landscape. It's a different, and there's no, and if anything has been proven in looking at a lot of the top nations in the world in terms of this game, it's they do what works for them, and the U.S. has a lot going for it, but at the same time, it has a lot in terms of the game that we're fighting. And one of the things is the cultural piece is huge. So anyway, at some point,
there is something that I used to call football heritage.
Perfect time. 100% football heritage. That's what I spend a lot of my time focused on. So anyway, I would love to get into that.
Now let's do it. We'll set all this up and reconvene sooner than later this time. And maybe earlier in the day.
Yeah, that would be nice.
No. This time is perfect, but yeah.
Well, in that case, there it is, Robert. We're just gonna have to suffer. Yeah. All right, good people. Thank you very much, everybody who showed up here live. To those who will see this later, peace and to you as well, as long as you're willing to fight for it, of course, as Fred Hampton used to say. And we'll catch you next time right here at
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
What do you sacrifice? Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, they set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. I'll The ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.